Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole special meeting.
Good evening, everyone. It's 6:45, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 4th, 2021 regular meeting of the Columbus City Council. Pat Gable, will you now take the roll?
Albright. Here. Arnold.
Here.
Gray.
Present?
McCabe. Here. Motiv. Present. Piperone.
Here.
Reed. Here. All present.
If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. And now I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Alder Gray will move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded by Alder Gray and Alder Piperone to approve tonight's agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. So moving on to correspondence and communications. Pat, has anyone signed up to speak tonight? Oh, am I supposed to get this? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, we have a couple people who would like to speak. The first is Joe Hammer.
Good evening. I'm Joe Hammer. I live at 162 East School Street, Columbus, Wisconsin here. I speak on behalf of my wife and myself, but I also speak on behalf of the staff at Columbus Water and Light. I strongly urge you to, as a council, to rescind all emergency orders regarding the coronavirus. Also, wearing of masks should be a choice, not a mandate. We could go on with all the debate about the science behind whether wearing a mask works or whether it doesn't. But to me, it is and to staff, it is a personal choice. If you feel more comfortable wearing it, fine. But people should not be forced to wear a mask. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And next we have Alan Stroschein.
Alan Stroschein, 620 Park Avenue, Columbus, Wisconsin. I come on behalf of the Columbus 4th of July Committee. Tory Weideman is our president. He could not be here today tonight because of some other engagements. If you check the calendar, 2 months from today is the 4th of July. And we are excited as members of the committee to plan a July 4th celebration. We need collaboration with the City Council, Police Department, Fire Department, etc. I'm here tonight to encourage you to favorably approve the permits for that celebration to take place. Tory did a very nice job, I thought, the last meeting to come before us. We have some new, younger people on the committee, but we're always looking for younger blood, younger people to participate. We realize that there'll be more social distancing this year, that there'll be more consideration of folks and their privacy and their health. So all I will say, as I bid adieu, is may the 4th be with you.
Thank you, Al. I wondered if somebody was going to say that tonight. Now I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Alder Gray will move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, second.
So it's been moved and seconded by Alder Gray and Alder McCabe. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple minor corrections.
Okay.
On the regular meeting minutes from April 20th, there is a typo on paragraph 6. Athletic field contracts till December, should be until. And on the committee of the whole minutes for April 20th, paragraph number 7, many alderpersons believe in a comprise, it should be compromise. And that is all I have for corrections on that.
Thank you, Paul. Is there any other discussion?
I actually had a comment on the same paragraph. We did have the discussion about the masks, and Paul and Ian both spoke, and I also made a comment that it's not referenced in here because it didn't necessarily agree with what they were saying. So I'm just asking, is that something that's normally mentioned?
Yes, typically that is, try and get all the comments in,
Okay,
so I can
Okay.
speak to the deputy on that.
all right. Thank you.
So just in terms of how we proceed, if we do have edits to the minutes,
So if you would, by motion, wish to incorporate the edits as suggested by Alder Pifferone, I'm not sure if there was edits suggested other than Alder Pifferone's, but any edits you would want to make, just include that in the motion if you'd like, and then that would be the motion voted on.
okay. Now, I think we already have a motion to approve them, so,
Alder Gray will rescind my first motion and move to approve the consent agenda with the edits Alder Piperone mentioned.
so it has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the edits that Alder Pifferone suggested. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The new business, our first order of business tonight is to consider and take action to ratify the mayoral appointments of city council members and citizens to commissions, committees, and boards. So I'm looking for a motion to approve these appointments.
Alder Piper will make a motion to approve the operator licenses.
Nope, we're talking appointments to the commissions.
Alder Piper will make a motion to approve the mayoral appointments for commissions and boards.
I can second that.
It has been moved and seconded by Alder Pifferone and Alder Shelley, I just forgot your last. To approve the mayoral appointments of city council members and citizens to the commissions, committees, and boards. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the second order of business tonight is to consider and take action on June meeting dates, which are proposed to be changed to June 8th and June 22nd. Are there any questions on this particular item? I can tell you that one reason we decided to change the dates is because there will be a primary election on June 15th, and so it's just easier for the city hall staff if they don't have to deal with an election on the same night that we have a meeting. And I will be out of town on June 1st. So if we move the dates to the 8th and the 22nd, that should take care of that. So is there any discussion on moving the dates or any other questions? Trina?
Alder Reed here. I'm perfectly comfortable with the new dates of the 8th and the 22nd for the month of June. Just throwing it out there that typically, historically, we would make the meeting the Monday before, but that is by no means a rule. It's just what we usually did. But I totally understand how these two alternate Tuesdays would work better for staff this time.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
Alder Reed motions to move the June meeting dates to June 8th and June 22nd on those Tuesdays to avoid scheduling conflicts.
I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded by Alder Reed and Alder Piperone to approve the change in the dates. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So the next item of business is to consider and take action on the Carico contract. This was covered in your packet. Staff is here to answer any questions if you have any. Any questions or discussions? And, okay. So Amy Jo Myers will give
Hello.
us.
Oh, it's on. I'm just here to answer any question if anybody has anything. So at the last meeting, it was the consensus to stay with the flat fee with Carico. And Carico did ask that if we could just add the verbiage to state that, how do I have it worded? All chemicals in excess of 26.6 would be purchased by the city at current commercial price due to the unknown status of the leak. They said that they would like to revisit this next year because they don't know for sure, nor do we, if the leak has been fixed 100%. So they're okay with the flat fee of the 26.6, but if we go over, they'd like to still bill us, which I think is what we agreed on.
And what's your feeling about that? Does that seem,
I feel pretty confident that we fixed it.
Okay.
We had about 3 areas that we troubleshot and repaired them, so I feel pretty good.
does anybody have
Fingers
any
crossed,
questions?
hopefully.
for-
Amy Jo?
Yes.
Would you be able to tell this year for sure if they're fixed or not, or?
Oh, yeah, as soon as we fire the pool up.
As soon as you fired it up,
Yep,
you'll
we're gonna
know.
start next week cleaning and prepping, and the following week we're gonna fill it, so we'll know in a couple of weeks. I'll retire. No, I'm just kidding. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have to play it day by day, I guess, so.
Do you have any idea what kind of expenditure we're gonna be looking at if it's not?
Not really. No, I would say similar to 2019, which was a lot of water and a lot of heating expenses because as fast as the pool was draining, it was filling up just as fast and we had to keep heating it. So there was a lot of electric charges and water, so I feel confident. The pipe that we fixed was quite significant. It had a very long crack in the water feature. So, and a couple things in the surge tank and along the walls, so they're pretty good. We're gonna have a good year.
No questions here. I'm just looking forward to having the pool open.
Yep. And I'm hoping I don't have to retire, so I might have to rescind that, so. Thank you.
Okay, so there's just, it sounds like there's a little bit of an edit to the information that we have in our packet. Is that
Correct. I will contact Nora tomorrow and ask her to send over the finalized contract, and then I'll have Kyle sign that, and
Okay.
we should be set.
And so we can feel comfortable voting on that tonight with the edit? Is that correct? Okay. So I am looking for a motion to take action on the Carico contract.
Alder Gray will move to approve the Carico contract with the edit that all chemicals in the excess of $26,600 will be purchased by the City of Columbus at current commercial wholesale trade prices due to the unknown status of the leak.
Great. Thank you very much. Right, we do have to vote on it, but. You can sit down, though, yes. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, so, should we, is this one that we should take a roll call on? Because it does involve, what, something financial, or no?
I think if in doubt, if it does involve money, I think a roll
All right, let's do a roll call, please, Pat.
McCabe? Aye. Motek? Aye. Pifferone?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Albright? Aye. Arnold?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Item 4 is to consider and take action on the emergency order and mask mandate. This was discussed at our last meeting, and the information in the packet provides some background information on the original authorization from October 2020, which is due to expire tomorrow on May 5th. At the Committee of the Whole meeting on April 20th, it was decided to extend the emergency order and mask requirement for city-owned buildings until July 7th, and to resume normal public access to City Hall and other city buildings. Are there any questions? Is there any further discussion?
I just have a comment. I mean, I think I agree with Joe, just as a representative of District 3, I know some people have reached out to me. They would love to see the emergency order expire tomorrow and then make masks a choice in all the city buildings, and that's including employees and people that come in.
Does anyone else? Trina, would you like to?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've also received, I'd say, a half dozen emails from constituents that would like the mask order to be repealed. On the other hand, at the same time, in the past week, I work as a teacher, and I've had so many of my Indian students telling me about all their dead relatives and dead friends of family, and about, how some of the relatives have been, living, obviously, have been visiting lately. And I think it's such a horrendous time to remove our mask mandates. Every week, the ages are going down for who's able to get a vaccine, and I really don't feel like we're thinking of the children, essentially, who should be able to go into public spaces safely. Not public, but the public city-owned spaces.
Ian?
And I would just like to say I agree with Trina. I think we're rounding a bend, but we're not past it yet. And I think it's just premature to lift it. I know I don't want to wear a mask all the time. I know nobody wants to wear a mask all the time. The CDC still does recommend that we wear masks when indoors. And I think it would just be foolish for us to go against what we know is the best practice and what the people that are far more intelligent and knowledgeable than us say is the best practice. I think the day is coming soon. I just don't think it's today.
Yeah, I've heard also from several constituents and quite a few from the public that feel pretty comfortable with lifting this and making it masks more of a choice. So I'd have to agree with the majority of the people that I've spoken with and lift the mandate.
Would anybody else like to weigh in tonight? Paul?
I'm personally torn with the mask. I wish I could just rip it off right now, but I do understand the purpose of it. However, I've received no emails from anybody saying that they wish to keep the mask going. I've only received emails stating that they wish the masks were to be repealed, and I have to vote on behalf of my constituents, and I think that that is what tells me how to vote tonight.
Anyone else? Sarah?
I agree. I have been contacted by constituents as well who are hoping to have it repealed. I don't agree with that. I think that we need to stick with the CDC guidelines, but we're here to represent our constituents, and if they feel strongly about that, I feel like we should repeal the mandate.
Well, this has become an interesting discussion, and not an easy one. I share the view of people who are really fed up with masks. I agree with that. I am concerned, as Trina referenced, about, kids going in the library, for example, and people who have compromised immune systems. It's a very tricky one. Boy. I guess we need to move ahead, though, and I wonder if there is any more discussion on this. Speak now. Anyone else? Trina.
Oh, well, I'm not expecting to change anyone's mind. I'll share my story. I'm pretty sure I'd gotten COVID a year ago from being coughed on. It started with my eye. Just to put it out there that, sure, the person without a mask, they feel safe themselves, but if they're transferring it by coughing, even if the other person has a mask on, they're still letting their germs out pretty freely. And it was just 4 hours in the emergency room that was like a $16,000 bill. So just to know, it can be a bit of a price out there.
And just one more thing. I want to remind people that we don't wear masks to protect ourselves, we wear masks to protect others. And that's where masking being an option, if you think it's good for you, is completely illogical. Because we do it for everyone around us, not for ourselves. And we also, when thinking about something like a mask mandate in public facilities, we have to also remember that these people are our employees, and it is our job to keep and maintain a safe working environment. And I can guarantee you not 100% of the employees feel safe with everyone not wearing a mask. I think it's a very small thing to ask, and I think it's something that we will get to, but we're not there yet. I agree that we need to represent our constituents, but in something like this, there's a greater purpose.
Are we allowed to ask? I mean, Pat, you weren't here when we initially discussed this. Could you tell us what your feeling is? You're an employee here at City Hall.
Do you feel like you're being put on the spot? Okay.
I'm sorry, that was not the intent. I was just.
I guess one thing to keep in mind is that this would be for 2 months. And I'm assuming that if things get a whole lot better within a month, we could revisit it before 2 months are up. Is that correct? Or are we kind of locked into?
No, I mean, Dave, you heard, Mayor? You actually have two different things before you tonight. The resolution is basic, the resolution does not mention masks, if you actually read it. The resolution simply gives the city administrator the ability to make emergency orders on a minute's notice if necessary. So I would suggest that you adopt that resolution and keep that in place. The issue of the masks itself, it would be a motion to either continue the existing order that's already in place or to let it lapse tonight. And it's a separate issue because that's in place by the council from a previous meeting in which they adopted the emergency order that the administrator made back then. So they're two completely separate items. The resolution, I think, would be a very good idea to keep in place. The mask order itself, that's your call. And that mask order can be, if there's a significant downturn in a week, that can be reinstated by Kyle until the next meeting comes around. Or if you keep it in place tonight and the next 2 weeks get a lot better, then you can terminate it then. So, I mean, you do have some flexibility on that particular point.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Just one quick thing. In our resolution, though, it does have that now therefore it is hereby resolved that pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 323. Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing. The last sentence is an ensure cooperation and coordination. Or, yeah, I suppose it's not technically mask. Yeah. Well, I would like to kick it off with moving to approve Resolution 11-21.
Reed seconds.
Did you say you seconded it? You know what? I heard you say, "Give me a second," so I thought you were reading. And, okay, sorry about that. All right. So I got a little sidetracked there. So it has been moved and seconded by Alders Gray and Reed that we approve Resolution 11-21, declaring a continued state of emergency. Is there discussion on approving this declaration? Does anybody want to weigh in, or?
Okay, maybe my brain is not working today, so bear with me on this question. But on our action requested of council, it talks about approving the resolution extending the emergency order, which we just made a motion for, and face covering requirement. So what's the difference between that and the mask?
So when people say mask mandate, that's not actually the wording that we're talking about. It's face covering because it doesn't have to be a mask. It can be something else. The emergency order by itself is one thing. The order that required face coverings was adopted under the emergency order. So you can't continue the face mask or the face covering requirement without the emergency order staying in place. You can, however, have just the emergency order stay in place without the face covering order. So essentially, if you decided to keep the emergency order in place, you could then, as a second action, decide whether or not you wanted to keep the face covering requirement.
And so really, under the emergency order, what would be covered would be that the city buildings would be open. Is that correct?
Essentially, it would give us the flexibility to change whatever we needed to change, whether it be meetings, access to public buildings, to respond to the conditions as they are. Even the very use of Zoom. If the emergency order ends today, Zoom ends today. If you think of how citizens and reporters and other members of the public and council members interact with these meetings, that all ends when the emergency order ends. So there's a lot that goes into it. The biggest thing the emergency order does is it gives us flexibility.
And so, I just want to make sure I have this clear. So we could continue the emergency order, and then in addition to that, could we specify what we want covered tonight at this meeting under that emergency order? So could we get as specific as saying, we're going to keep this order in place, but we're not going to require people to wear masks in city-owned buildings anymore?
That would be something I think you could do. The emergency order is pretty straightforward. The existing face covering requirement is pretty straightforward. That's already an order that's out there. So if you were in whole to throw it out, that would be simple. And if you were in whole to adopt it as is, that would be simple. Anything else where you want to get very detailed on some type of order tonight, would be more complicated because you would have to be very specific about the justification and the effect of what you wanted in some order. And it may be better to, if that was desired, to keep something in place and in 2 weeks have something more narrowly crafted to what you're desiring, if that's what the council would like to do.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion from council members? Any other issues you want to bring up or opinions? So we have a motion on the floor, and without any desired discussion, I think it's time to vote. Tell me again what you said, Ian. You resolved that we should continue the 1121. Okay, and it was seconded by Trina. All right. So, all those in favor? All those opposed to continuing with the resolution? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We're voting on just the emergency, continuing state of emergency 11-21.
That's right.
Correct.
Yes, that's the one that Ian proposed. So let's vote again, because let's do a roll call. Yes.
Motive? Aye. Pifferone?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Albright?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
McCabe?
So the motion passes. Okay. Thank you for sorting that out for us.
So then, will our mask mandate still end tomorrow if we don't extend it, or is that more of?
So the face covering requirement, and the wording on the item is, is inconsistent. The face covering requirement, because it's an order that was adopted to run along with the emergency order, my understanding is that would continue in effect unless the council took an action to change it or eliminate it.
Perfect. I'm good then.
And so, is that something we need to take action on tonight? Or have we covered everything we needed to cover in the previous vote?
I would advise not taking action tonight unless you know exactly how you want it worded.
So we can table that part of the issue for another meeting in the future? Okay.
Or if somebody wanted to make a motion to deal with the mask, they could.
So it is on the agenda for consideration and action.
That's
so
true.
A motion related to that could be entertained.
I'll make a motion to rescind the mask order.
Cable second.
So it has been moved and seconded by Alders Pifferone and McCabe to rescind the mask order. Is there any further discussion on that?
I don't know exactly what we're rescinding. I don't think that's really very specific to make any sort of change or policy change. Like, does that give staff enough direction to what is going to happen, or?
I think essentially it would be taking the order that required face coverings and eliminating it, so no face coverings would be required. Unfortunately, based on, the expectation from the committee of the whole, we haven't been preparing to accommodate that in any way. We haven't been setting up people with any partitions if that's what they would like. That's one concern I have, is that, we're kind of deviating from the recommendation from the committee of the whole. We can deal with that, but it's, it's for employees who may be concerned. It's a little bit of an abrupt change that I guess we weren't expecting, but like anything, we can accommodate it.
Well, I'm sorry, I just have a question. I guess if we instead of rescinding it, put in there, it's up to each individual person by choice. We're not saying they can't wear a mask, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the situation is that, depending on how you feel about masks, it's not you wearing a mask to protect yourself necessarily. There is protective effect on other people, and vice versa when we're putting people out in the public eye. And I mean, we literally have employees in this room that have children with conditions that we put them in front of the public. And if their daughter has a heart defect, we're putting those people, I guess, in the line of fire on behalf of the city. So I just, I guess, for me, I wish we would have had a little more advance notice, because it impacts families. And I guess I'll leave it there.
I would really like to make a motion that we table this and we talk about this before we make a firm decision on the face masks. I'd like to hear from Kyle how long he needs to prepare. I mean, I think there needs to be more discussion.
So we do have a motion on the floor that was seconded, and I guess in my opinion, it might be good to get more information and not move on something so quickly tonight, especially after hearing what Kyle had to say. Would you like to amend your motion, Mike, or would you like a? Oh, you seconded. Who made the motion? Paul did. Sorry, Paul.
I guess I'll rescind my motion to rescind the mask.
Or, I guess procedurally, we should vote on it because it is out there, or,
You could call a vote, and I believe a motion can be withdrawn at any time before the vote.
okay.
I think it's important to remember that we don't have to take action on this tonight. By waiting 2 weeks, we give at least a little bit of notice, and we have to remember that we are basically the employers of the city workers. And to expect them to all of a sudden have something completely opposite from what they thought was going to be happening is really unfair and puts people in it does not give a safe and healthy work environment, especially when it's so abrupt. So while I do agree if you didn't fully rescind your motion, we need to vote, I would just encourage people to vote no.
Paul?
I will hereby rescind my motion to rescind the mask and.
Thank you, Paul. Mike?
I just want, do you want to, put something down as far as giving notice to the city employees and to let Kyle have some time to talk with them or come up with a plan? You want to put something down on paper for that then?
I think revisiting this in a couple of weeks at our next meeting might be the way to go, and then to make some preparations if we do decide to, if the council decides to rescind the order. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So do we need to vote to table it? Okay.
Yeah, essentially, this order's available at any time to take any action you'd want at any
Okay.
future
Oh,
meeting.
that's right, because we still have the order. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay. So the next item is an amendment to the purchasing policy. And this would limit the length of contracts. It's something we talked about at our last meeting. Does anybody have any questions on that? This was a deliberation, that there was a desire to add language regarding contract approval that would limit the length of contracts that could be approved by staff according to policy. And so some of the language was changed. So do I have a motion, or does anyone want any further information on this?
I would move to approve the new purchasing policy.
I'll second that.
So it has been moved by Alder Gray and seconded by Alder Pifferone to amend the purchasing policy. Any further discussion? And I think we'll do a roll call on this one. All those in favor, go ahead, Pat. Answer, Pat.
Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Albright,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Moda. Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is purchasing public property. This was something that was discussed earlier. It's parcel number 91. The total cost to the city would be $288.75. And is there any discussion on this or any questions? Can I get a motion?
Reed will motion for the City of Columbus to purchase parcel number 91 from the County of Columbus for $288.75.
Gray will
second.
second.
So it has been moved by Alder Reed and seconded by Alder Ian Gray. And so we'll do a roll call on this one too.
Reed,
Aye.
Albright,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
McCabe. Aye. Moda. Pifferone.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, I think we are now down to claims. Item number 7 on the agenda is consider and take action on claims in the amount of $300,031, wait a minute, $331,000, 418, wait a minute. Boy, I have to go back to my 6th grade math class. $331,418.40. So that's the amount of the claims. They were all in your packet, and so can I get a motion on this?
Alder Pfeiffer will make a motion to approve the claims in the amount read.
Alder Albright can second that.
So it has been moved by Alder Pifferone and seconded by Alder Albright to approve the claims as read, and we'll do a roll call on this one also.
Albright,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
McCabe. Aye. Moda. Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great. So the next item is report of city officers. Do you want to go first, Kyle?
If you'd like me to.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Just a few items. With the high winds this weekend, we did have a part of the flat roof on City Hall that was damaged and kind of pulled back, and there was a water leak in the auditorium. Fortunately, we had an insurance adjuster that was here looking just at the value of the buildings, and that's they found it early. Unfortunately, we don't know the cost of that repair yet, and probably more troubling is that the whole roof is sort of cracking and old and showing its age. So I don't think it's an imminent need of replacement, imminent need of repair definitely, but in the next several years, I'm sure that issue is going to continue to be something that we'll have to look at. So just throwing that out there. There's also several recruitments underway. The finance director application period closed yesterday, and we're going to be screening those this week. And we're getting some help from some other people to get some good questions and some good ideas in the interviews from some council members. Open recruitments for Director of Public Works goes through the 17th of May, and we have some DPW maintenance workers positions that are also being recruited for through May, or to the 24th of May. So please spread the word. If you're aware of anyone that's looking for a position or would like to work with the City of Columbus, spread the word, please. Finally, we've been having a lot of vandalism in our parks, something that isn't necessarily unusual. It's a little bit earlier this year than I've seen in other communities. Usually kind of corresponds with the end of the school year. So we've been having a lot of vandalism, a lot of repetitive vandalism, where we're going in and dedicating the staff time and resources to fix whatever was broken or burned or whatever, and then within a day or two, we're back doing the same repair or similar repairs in the same parks. You know, we have limited budgets anyways, and this is just kind of wasted money and wasted time, and it's unfortunate. But we've shortened some of the time frames on some of the bathrooms to try to address that. We've increased the patrol to try to, you know, just have a more of a presence and maybe catch people or just make sure that they see us in the area. Nothing seemed to have worked very well so far. We're also looking for some technology that might help us, you know, keep an eye on our buildings better, but that's something that we're just kind of dipping our toe into the cost and what that would look like. So I guess, you know, the old-fashioned way is just ask everyone to keep an eye out, and if they see anything or they hear of anything, to let the police know so that we can, you know, hopefully catch the people that are doing this so that they stop doing it, because our facilities are something that is kind of an area of pride for the community, and unfortunately when this happens, it's worse for everyone. So just looking for, I guess, the help of the public to keep our areas nice for everybody. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Now we get to the fun stuff. Tonight we appointed citizen representatives to serve on the many committees, commissions, and boards that are available to city residents, which is a great way to get to know your community and to help out. And I want to thank everybody sincerely who is currently serving or has served in the past on one of the city's boards, committees, and commissions. We really couldn't do it without you. We really appreciate the time and effort you've put in to make our city a better place to live. If you would like to learn more about what boards and commissions and committees are available, you can go to the boards and commissions link on the city's website page, and it'll kind of lay out for you what each committee does. And then you can go to the mayor's page on the city website, and there's a form there that you can click on and fill out, indicating what areas you might be interested in. And we would really appreciate anybody taking a look at that. And again, thank you to all the volunteers. And we've also got a proclamation to honor our city clerk. This comes from Governor Tony Evers. He has declared May 2nd through May 8th as Professional Municipal Clerks Appreciation Week. And I'm going to read paragraph 5 of the resolution, or the proclamation, because I think it really fits here with Pat. Even in the face of uncertainty and unprecedented challenges to election administration, especially over the past year due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, our professional municipal clerks never fail to display courage, flexibility, resilience, and dedication to the doctrine of free and fair elections. And having worked as a poll worker myself, I can verify that Pat has been wonderful to work with, and all of her staff, very hardworking, very conscientious. So Pat, we really appreciate you, and thank you so much for all you do for the city. And just going to make a little report on Arbor Day. We also have a proclamation for Arbor Day, which was April 30th. So, you know, it's gone now, but we had fun, Alder Pifferone and I, and City Administrator Kyle Ellefson, and our Media Coordinator Lisa Wolf, and Jenny Schultz from Department of Public Works, all went out to the pavilion, and we planted a tree. Well, we kind of planted a tree. We started the process, we can say that. And the City of Columbus has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation. There's a plaque in the back, which I had never noticed before, but Jenny Schultz showed it to me last week. It's, oh, there you go. It's by Paul Johnson. And they add a little leaf every time we are recognized as a Tree City, which Columbus is. So that's another kind of fun thing. And also, I want to remind people about the Honor Tree Program. It's available to people who would like to purchase a tree in honor of a special person. The tree will be planted in a City of Columbus park of your choice for residents to enjoy for years to come. And the last day to order this for spring planting is Monday, May 17th by 3:30. There's also planting in the fall, and you can order by September 20th for that one. But if you're interested, that's something you might want to think about doing. I've had some questions about spring cleanup, and I want to let people know it's going to be the week of May 10th. Residents can put their bulk items along the curb on their regularly scheduled garbage recycling day, and those items will be picked up by the city. You might want to check and see what's acceptable and what's not. I believe that information is on the city website. Is that correct? Yep, okay. You may notice I'm wearing a Redbud mask tonight. That's because Redbud Days are coming, and there are all kinds of activities for the whole family. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce has done a great job once again with Redbud Days, and they're so beautiful right now. Boy, it's going to be a great weekend. One of the highlights will be the crowning of the Redbud Prince and Princess, which will be held outside City Hall Saturday, May 8th at 10:45. There will also be a craft and vendor fair. There'll be food stands, live music, and the Friends of the Library will have their used bookstore open from 10 to 2 that day. I suppose everybody here probably knows where Cersei's Brewing Company got their name. Is there anybody that doesn't know that that's a Latin word for redbud? So it is. And they actually are going to be providing Redbud craft beer. There will be citywide garage sales. So there's lots going on. I'm going to encourage all city council members to stop downtown, especially on Saturday when it sounds like most of the activities are going to be happening. I also want to remind people that there is going to be a primary election for the City of Columbus, and this is for the 37th Assembly District, of which we are a part. And that will be held on June 15th. Our Assemblyman, John Jagler, was elected in a special election to serve in the Senate, so he's now our Senate representative, so they're having a special election to replace him. And then the primary is June 15th, the actual election will be July 13th. And that's all I have. Okay. So, I need a motion to adjourn.
Gray will move to adjourn.
I will second that.
So it's been moved by Alder Gray and seconded by Alder Pifferone to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
I would like to welcome everyone to the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole. It is Tuesday, May 4th, and 7:49 p.m. Pat, could you take a roll call?
Arnold? Gray?
Present.
McCabe? Here. Motip? Here. Piperone?
Here?
Reed?
Here.
Albright? Here. All present.
Awesome. Next up, we have, the meeting was properly noticed as an open meeting. So next is to approve the agenda. Do I have any discussion or amendments to the agenda? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda. No corrections.
Vote of seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Next is citizen comments. Do we have anyone signed up today for the committee of the whole? Okay. Anyone present that didn't sign up, either here or on Zoom? Seeing none. All right, we will move on to item number 5, committee, commissions, and minutes. In our packets, we have the minutes from the CHLPC, the CWL, the EMS, PFC, and Parks and Recreation. Were there any questions or comments on those? Okay, perfect. Do I need to approve those? Yeah. Perfect. All right, next up is to review and discuss the purchase of a UTV with the attachments for the wastewater treatment plant. And we should have, Katie is here to answer any questions and discuss that with us a little bit further.
Okay. Oh, okay. Short girl problems. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present my agenda item. We are requesting approval for the budgeted UTV for the wastewater plant. We had budgeted for $25,000 for 2021. Listed under engineering and capital expenses, line item, capital expense vehicle equipment. The functions of the UTV will be general plant and ground maintenance, weed control, access to transit lift station when the driveway there is bad. Well, it's not even really a driveway. And assist with jetting sewers and general plant maintenance. We've received 3 bids for the UTV. I've attached a bid tabulation sheet. We are requesting the purchase of a 2021 Polaris Ranger 1000 EPS from Ritchie's. We chose this one only because it's the lowest bidder, but that's all up to you all. Along with the attachments, an amber mini light bar from Granger and a Femco ATV sprayer tank for weed control for the plant and the lift stations. The total attachments with the attachments would be $21,354.10, which is below the budgeted amount of $25,000. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Katie. And so that's awesome that Ritchie's came in so well. So I assume that the quote from Ritchie's and the quote from Stats, they come with the same warranties. Does the John Deere have any different warranty or maintenance included that would
They
alter our
didn't,
decision?
I do not have the warranty information on those, but I can get them.
Okay. Do you remember it being any more or less than the others that would make it
No,
worth thousands
no,
of
there
couple
really
grand?
wasn't any kind of difference to them. The only thing that I really got from anybody as far as, other than we were asking for kind of a relative similar UTV, They just wanted me to know that these prices are going up very, very quickly. And so, just because of, all metal, everything is going up very quickly right now. So the action on this has to be quick, but I haven't heard anything as far as any kind of differences in warranties, or we would just ask for a similar item.
Okay. So we are comparing apples to apples?
Pretty
with
much.
everything. Okay, awesome, thank you. I don't have anything else. Anybody else have questions for Trina?
I'll read. Kind of the same question. So the Polaris Ranger that we're leaning towards for the cheaper price looks like it should be pretty equivalent in quality to the John Deere Gator.
Yes, yes, I didn't think that there was much difference. To tell you the truth, these items were the bids for them originally were received from the previous operator A, who was retired. I went back and got new bids because those really expired because of the change of prices. So I just went with what he was getting, choosing. And so I just continued with the Polaris and the John Deere just to be, because that's what he was seeking. But to be honest with you, they all look the same to me.
Thank you.
Anybody, go ahead.
Do they have this in stock, or is this something that's gonna have to be ordered and?
Actually, it has to be ordered. That I did get
Did they tell you how long it
from
would
Richie's.
take to get it?
Right now, he didn't give me a time, but it looked like it was probably a month or two out.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad, because I know you had. where I
That
work,
he did
things
tell me.
are-
I talked to the, I forget, I think his name was Mike or something from Richie's. And he told me that this would have to be ordered,
Okay.
that they do not have these in stock.
And at the plant, do you guys have a space to store this inside?
Yes,
Okay.
we have garage space.
That's all, thank you.
Awesome. Anything else for Katie, or any other comments? No? Oh, well, thank you so much for coming in, Katie. I think we
Thank
have
you.
consensus to move that forward with the recommendation of Richie's. And then next up, let's see here. Oh, we have Matt Schreiber is here to discuss with us the timeline of the TIF District Number 6.
Sure. Good evening. Just in your packet, you will see a couple items. You'll see a timeline that was provided by Elders, and we're already into that timeline, and I'll touch on that in a bit. And then also, there's a letter that went out to the property owners already. This actually past week it went out. It was a notice that's required for the TIF district. And then also I'll be talking about the project plan, which is also in your packet tonight. So first things first, the timeline. This was really started earlier this year by council. I think back in I think it was in February where we started approved the project plan and hiring Ellers to complete the project plan. And once that approval started this process of my staff, mostly myself, working with Ellers to go through the district. There's about 150 parcels within the district, and starting refining the data to the point where we are today, where we could send out a notice and start this process. So just going through the timeline, really a key date to keep in mind is upcoming on May 13th. There will be a joint review board meeting, and also the plan commission will meet that evening and have a public hearing on the project plan. And then from there, it will go to council for council's review and approval. And then ultimately, the joint review board will also have to meet after the council meeting, and they'll have basically they'll I think certify the TIF is the correct terminology for this. So that's the timeline. At this point, it's the notices have gone out to the paper, to the property owners, and really it's holding that public hearing on the project plan, and then having council approve the project plan, and then that final approval from the joint review board. just want to clarify a little bit, I just put a sample of the letter in your packet, just so you know what went out to property owners, just in case anybody contacted you with questions about it. This was a sample provided to us by Elders. I think it's fairly straightforward on what they're doing to gives the property owners notice of where agendas will be posted and ask them to look for that. Any questions on either the timeline or the letter? Okay, jumping into the draft project plan. Now, keep in mind, this is still a draft. The one thing that I want you to look at would be under section 2 is the preliminary TIF boundaries. As it stands right now, these boundaries are essentially locked in for the moment because we have started the public notice process. Because we are declaring this a rehabilitation TIF, which essentially means that more than 50% of the area within the TIF district qualifies as a building that could make voluntary or compulsory repairs. So we've gone through and done this research, and more than 50% of the area meets that standard based on the state statute. I guess I wanted everybody to know that the boundary, as it is right now, if it was going to change drastically, we would need to stop everything and repost the notice and reschedule the public hearing for a different date. The other thing I wanted that I think is critical to what we're doing is section 8, which is on page 23 of the project plan. It gives a list of estimated project costs. So these are project costs. So right now we don't have any projects that have been approved by council. Every specific project that would receive TIF funding would be approved by council. But when you do the project plan, you're essentially kind of estimating potential projects that could be coming down the road. What's in this plan does not mean these things are going to happen. It means they could happen, and they are estimates. So it's not a budget, it's an estimate. So I just wanted to highlight the items, things like Dickinson property or Dickinson Boulevard improvements, potential property acquisitions, development incentives for restoring the upper units for residential, the upper residential units and mixed-use buildings, development incentives for facade improvements. There's a category for general development incentives, administrative costs, which we include in every TIF district that helps offset staff time to help administer the TIF. The surveying and plat updates was something we left in there as a potential project due to the number of properties that have, how do I put this, apparent mapping errors that we might want to clean up over the next couple years. Once again, this is something that we could do. It doesn't mean we will do it. Streetscaping and beautification, and then marketing of the TIF district and the downtown in general. It's always good to leave marketing in for the TIF district to have that effort. As I said, the costs in there are estimates. There's something that, essentially, when the project is approved by council, that would determine what the budget is, not necessarily this document. It would really be up to the discretion of council to amend the project plan if projects end up being more costly than what is shown in the project plan. So that really is in a nutshell what I wanted to hit on was the main points. Is there any other questions about the TIF district or the downtown that you want to discuss this evening?
Go ahead, Paul.
Matthew Schreiber, Paul Pike from here. At the beginning of your intro, you said, and I can't quote you because I wasn't writing as you were saying it, but you said something about volunteer versus compulsory rehabilitations. And I'm just questioning, how would you foresee, I guess, compulsory? I mean, I know, we can all think of a couple of buildings that should be compulsory, but how would that be compulsory?
Well, I mean, that's the way the statute reads. I guess in my interpretation of what the intent is behind the TIF district, I think it's all going to be voluntary rather than the compulsory type. But it is something that we could consider if there was the proper occasion, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
And just a reminder, like the HLPC does have the ability to make compulsory things in the historic district, which most of that is the historic downtown area.
I have a quick question. In our packet, you included like an Excel spreadsheet with addresses and stuff on here. Could you kind of, I mean, I think I know what it means, but could you just explain what the intent of this Excel document was? It lists all the addresses affected in the,
So yeah, it's part of the property plan, or project plan.
Right.
You include a spreadsheet of all the properties that are impacted. That's usually fairly standard. Basically, they're using that to do establish what the baseline is. So when you create a TIF district, the boundary that is shown on that map that I showed in section 2,
right,
the boundaries that is determined, you have to go through and calculate what the assessed value is at this time when the TIF district is created, and that's your base value. So a lot of that is statutorily required. Because this project plan will go to Department of Revenue and be approved by Department of Revenue. So they have to look through the project plan, make sure the parcels identified in the project plan correlate back to the map that is shown on page 2.
okay, so I do have one more question. So you started with the baseline, I understand that, and then there's, when you look at the homes behind us, they go up a little bit. So are we saying that if we do this TIF and we do all this improvement on James Street and whatnot, does that increase the value of the people that live behind us or behind James Street? Is that how that works, or am I not understanding that correctly?
The improvement of the property value, I think there's a lot of factors that would go into that. Specifically, obviously if somebody makes an improvement in their building, ultimately they're gonna see an increased assessed value at some point as they pull the building permit. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. But if the downtown became a more attractive place for people to live, yeah, it could impact the property
Okay,
value.
and that's what I assumed it meant, was if, we make the downtown better and people want to be down here, that increases the value outside of the little area. Okay.
Yeah.
Is anybody else, or Trina?
I was just gonna respond with Alder Albright. I don't think it's so much there for the individual property owners. It's more just so we have a basis like, okay, this property is worth that much, this one's that one much. And then if there's a new property built on, we can add that amount to the value. So right now, we're not thinking about home assessments at all.
Kyle?
So the assessment practices inside the TIF and outside the TIF will not change. The homes will continue to be assessed like they are today, based primarily on comparable arm's length sales in the open market. So if there's appreciation of the property values, it's going to be based on the generalized market. If there's suddenly everyone wants to live downtown, that could be. But the TIF establishment itself really won't have any bearing. They get assessed just like everything. So I think they'll probably match the rest of the community pretty closely.
Thank you for clarifying that. Does anybody else have anything? Awesome. I think I think we're good to move that forward. And, well, that was more of an update, but awesome. So next up is Chief Weiner's here to and we are going to discuss the updates of the the sergeant's position description.
Good evening. Approximately 3 weeks ago, the sergeant on the department came in and presented me with his resignation. He's getting out of law enforcement. So usually at a time of a vacancy is when you look at job descriptions, see if they need to be updated, see if they need to be reviewed. Lots of times there's been transitions during the previous writing or the previous version, and that's pretty accurate in the case here. This original job description was written in 2013, and it needed a little bit of updating. There wasn't a ton that I did to it. I'm just going to highlight some of the changes that I made, and you can ask any questions, but the real foundation of this job description is still here. I just tweaked it, some areas. The first thing that I really felt the previous job description was written more to make this a management position, and it is not. The sergeant on our department is a member of the union, supervises the 6 patrol officers, so that kind of puts them in a different scenario as far as discipline and personnel investigations and those types of things. So I just streamlined, I removed some of the management tone, and actually there were some verbiage in here referring to it as a management position, and it is not. The sergeant position in our department is a first-level supervisor. Our command structure is a chief, 2 lieutenants, a sergeant, and 6 patrol officers. A lieutenant is assigned 2 lieutenants. One is assigned to each shift, and the sergeant is assigned to another shift. So essentially have a supervisor assigned to take care of all 3 shifts. So what I really changed about this position, on the first page, right about in the middle, essential duties and responsibilities, under letter A, it was written to, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong, okay, that one. Section A, shall perform all duties of a police officer while also functioning as a first-level supervisor. That is probably one of the bigger tone changes because the previous edition had some, again, management verbiage in it, and it's not a position of management. Some of the other duties I just tweaked a little bit to make them a little more clear or maybe up to date. I may have removed some that they don't do. I may have added a couple, but again, nothing substantial. One of the things I also did is I dropped the requirements down to be eligible for this position. It required 4 years of being a police officer, and in this climate of lack of candidates and the recruitment issues that I know I'm already going to face, 4 years is a lot. For the lieutenant's position, it's only 5. And for this last lieutenant's process, we only got 5 applicants. And that was for several dollars an hour more. So I saw some issues with it being at 4 years, given the current climate. So I dropped it down to 2 years, which I'm comfortable with because they're essentially a police officer and they're a shift supervisor. And anyone working under them during their shift, they go to them with problems and those type of things. So I was pretty comfortable with moving it down to 2 years. I think in an agency our size, that's pretty common. I mean, everybody's individually different, but I've worked with officers for a year that I would trust being a supervisor, and I've worked with some for 3 or 4 years that I wouldn't trust. So again, it's individual how someone is professionally and skill-wise, so everybody's a little different. Those are really the only really strong changes that I made to it. The process for filling the position is always the same. It's dictated by the Police and Fire Commission through their bylaws with a written test. Then we do a law enforcement interview panel, and then the Police and Fire Commission interviews them and certifies them worthy of hire or not. So the hiring process really hasn't changed whatsoever. So again, I was just tweaking some of the fine details, tailoring it a little more to be the first level supervisor, which a sergeant is in an agency our size, opposed to management, and those are really the major changes. And they weren't even that significant, really, but needed to be done to make it accurate, to reflect what it is.
Okay, perfect. And I remember discussing before about thoughts on like restructuring things, and it can't remember exactly what it was. But since this is a union position, we probably, I think that was the thing before, even though we don't technically have someone hired right now, we probably still can't get rid of it and do a lieutenant or something instead?
Correct. What you're referring to is what we talked about in 2019 during the filling of the lieutenant's position, which created the sergeant was promoted to lieutenant, so it created a sergeant vacancy. So we talked about the previous structure. Back in 2013, when this job description was written, Chief Meister was trying to change the structure of the department to a chief, 3 lieutenants, and 6 patrol officers. And they ended up compromising with the council with 2 lieutenants and a sergeant. So that's how this inception happened, as a sergeant's position as a union member. And after that discussion, I reached out to the city's labor attorney, and because it is a union position, it would involve a great deal of work and a great deal of expense to replace a sergeant union position with a lieutenant non-position. So it was left alone. The labor attorney said it's complicated and expensive.
Okay. That's all I have. Paul?
In regards to, and I get your plight with the 2 years minimum experience versus 4. The only question I have is, could it possibly be written in there like 2 years minimum experience at a city larger than a certain size, or 4 years at a, like, if you come from Mayberry and there's like 500, or 400 people and you don't really have much experience, 2 years not to give you much experience in the realm of police officer work and or sergeanting. So, you might not have, that 2 years experience might not really translate into 2 years at a bigger city. Is there any way of
I understand totally what you're saying. I think the problem with that was it ties our hands a little bit. I think as it's written now, it allows us to bring in a bigger pool of people, and then we can make a decision. If we try to bring someone in for this or any other position, again, let's say we pick the 2-year benchmark. Someone that's been working 4 or 5 years at another bigger department, they're going to be making more per hour there than they will come in here as sergeant. So what's the incentive? So it's kind of a catch-22. The more experience, love it, would welcome it. But when you look at the pay scales of other agencies and agencies our size or even a little bigger, that's where the catch-22 comes in.
I get it. And like I say, it's just a question, because resumes don't always tell the truth, and you can say I've had 10 years experience and you really don't know anything. So
right. No, I totally understand what you're saying.
Still don't have to hire them, is the thing.
Correct. It's to draw in a bigger pool, and we can investigate their background, talk to their chiefs. I mean, I know many people in departments smaller than ours that have a couple years' experience that I'd welcome as a sergeant here. So, I mean, it's just, I guess right out of the chute, my goal is to try to draw more people in and have a bigger pool to make that decision from.
thank you.
Including internally, because as this is written too, I think there'd be 1 or 2 internal candidates that are extremely worthy of it, and there's not a lot of promotional opportunities within our department. So I think that also accomplishes the goal of maybe giving current employees an incentive as well.
Perfect. Anybody else have anything? I'd be fine. I assume we need to move that to the next regular meeting to approve it officially, but I think we have a good consensus to do so. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chief. And with that, the last up for the televised portion of our agenda is to convene to close session. So, if I could have a motion to convene to close session pursuant to 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data for any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility to discuss employment agreement for police lieutenant.
Alder Piper will make a motion to convene to closed session.
Okay, seconds.
I have a motion and a second. Pat, could you take a roll call?
Gray,
Aye.
McCabe. Aye. Modip. Aye. Pifferone,
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Albright,
Aye.
Arnold. Aye. Motion carries.
Awesome. We are now in closed session. I don't believe. Okay, I don't believe we're returning to the air tonight, are we?
No, we will not.
Okay.